Hey party people, Techno here, and we are back at the Sans Holiday Hack Challenge 2022 to wrap up the third and final challenge in our quest to recover the Tolkien Ring to save Christmas, to save KringleCon. One thing that I wanted to touch on before we jump into this final challenge is in the first video, I highlighted as we were moving through the Flobbit tunnels where some of those hidden chests were that contain all those goodies like the Kringle coin, the hints, the hats, things like that. But I wanted to point out that there is more to finding those chests than simply checking the walls, which works just fine in many cases for the appearance of like rubble that you can walk through and get to those chests. There's a couple tricks we can leverage there to locate those. And the first of which is simply going to be to mess with the magnification in your browser window. So if I use Control- and zoom out of my browser and reduce this magnification, you can see, aha, look, hiding right off of screen here is a chest that we can grab. So that's one way to find those. But let me bring this back to 100%. Another cool way to go about this is to open up the developer tools in your particular web browser, navigate to your sources tab, and under the images, this is basically loading all of the art assets for the Holiday Hack Challenge here. And in backgrounds, we can look through here and find these level masks. So this is going to show us also where those chests are located. Here's the tunnels we came through earlier. There's those open areas where the chests exist. In this case, there's another image in here that's got a nice little Easter egg where we got a nice smiley face saying that we're awesome. Presumably that's because we found this. But yeah, there again, the location of those chests, and then you can just kind of scroll through here and see where those are. So for this particular room, you would be able to see that same mask where that chest is open right down here at the bottom. So some other cool methods for detecting where all of those chests are. Make sure you don't miss any of those goodies. Let me close out these developer tools and we will jump into our final challenge here. So let's wander on past Dusty Gift Wrap there on our endless trek to the final challenge. And let's mosey on up to Fitzy Short Stack. So what Fitzy has for us is a challenge involving construction of Suricata rules. And these are going to be to detect the malicious activity that we worked through in the Windows event logs and the suspicious PCAP analysis earlier on. Let's just go into the badge here for a moment to get some background on this. So recovering the Tolkien Ring, we are going to be working on the Suricata Regatta challenge. That's 3 out of 5 Christmas trees. So difficulty is ramping up here a little bit. And we can see that what this says is help detect the kind of malicious activity in the future by writing some Suricata rules. Work with Dusty Gift Wrap in the Tolkien Ring to get some hints. So we did just solve that challenge in the last CTI or in the last Holiday Hack Challenge video. So we have a hint for this. And let's go ahead and open up that hint. What we have is the Tome of Suricata Rules from Dusty Gift Wrap. And basically Dusty's hint for us is RTFM, man. This is a link to the documentation for Suricata, the rules format, and all of the involved keywords after that. So basically all that this challenge requires you to do, if you're not already familiar with constructing Suricata rules, is to take the requirements that you're given, look up in the documentation how to construct those rules, and really just the investment in reading the docs and the time is all you need here to pass this challenge. But let's jump into the Cranberry Pi terminal and let's see what else they got for us. So use your investigative analysis skills and the suspicious PCAP file to help develop Suricata rules for the elves. They've already constructed a list of Suricata rules that we can reference and work with here. And then also they have our first requirement, which is create a Suricata rule to catch DNS lookups for adv.eposttoday.uk. Whenever there's a match, the alert message should read known bad DNS lookup, possible Dridex infection. And then what we can do is add this to the Suricata rules, use the rule checker that they provide us to validate that, and go from there. So let's just start by seeing what we have by checking our Suricata rules. Here's all of the examples that, or not examples, but in our case, we're going to use them as such, examples that they have in here for the Suricata rules that are already constructed. We'll be adding the ones that we create into this and then running that rule checker against it to see if we succeeded in doing the proper kind of detection. So let's just jump into Notepad here for a moment to start building that rule out so we can kind of see this as we go. Our first requirement is to create a Suricata rule to catch DNS lookups. So what I did for this was a drop action. You could probably get away with alert. I didn't test it, but I just started with drop and it worked. So I didn't ask any more questions. So we're going to drop DNS. And then at this point, we're going to define what IP address in our network and what port to work with. So we're going to continue to use the home net variable that they have in the example Suricata rules and any port. And now we need to define whether this is going to be a bidirectional rule. So is it both for inbound and outbound communications, or is it only on the outbound? And in this case, it's a DNS request. We really only need it to be an outbound rule, which is going to be notated by this dash and then greater than sign. It's going to go to any IP address and any port combination. We don't really care where it's going. It could go anywhere. And at this point, we can start adding our keywords, the first of which is going to be the message that we need to add to the Suricata rule. And this is this known bad DNS lookup, so on. And let's just copy that right out of our CranPy terminal here. Back to Notepad, I'm going to drop that in the message, and then we're going to follow that up with a semicolon. And then from there, we need to be able to detect what the DNS query is. So this is where we're going to have to reference that documentation and figure out how we would put that in. So let's look through the docs here. We have DNS keywords, exactly what we're looking for. And right here we have DNS.query, and it gives us the syntax for that. So this is inspecting those DNS queries, and it is looking for whatever content we provide. So let's jump back here. Let's jump back into Notepad and add this DNS.query keyword, semicolon, and then the content that we're looking for. And that's going to be our lookup to eposttoday.uk. Cool. Now from there, we can just finish this off with a couple more keywords, such as no case. I don't really care if this is upper or lower case, so it's not case sensitive. And then we're going to add our SID, which is just an arbitrary number to keep track of your rules. I'll just throw quad 5s in here. Doesn't really matter that much. And then finally, we can finish this off with the revision number of this rule. This is the first one that we've created, so this is Rev 1. And then we have our first Suricata rule. So let's go ahead and copy this out. Let's drop this in our Suricata rules and check it to see if this satisfies the requirements that we've been given. So I'll drop down to the bottom here, and I'll append this to the end, put that in, right quit, and then let's go ahead and run the rule checker to see how that works. First rule looks good. Awesome. So now we have the next rule that we need to create. So in this PCAP, it points to 192.185.57.242. That was our Apache server, if you remember. Develop a Suricata rule that alerts whenever the infected IP address communicates with internal systems over HTTP. When there's a match, the message should read, investigate suspicious connections, possible DryDex infection. All right, let's break out Notepad again to start putting this rule together. So in this case, we're doing an alert. So we'll start this off with alert, and it's an HTTP. And then from there, it is going to be very similar. So I'll copy this first portion and toss this in here. However, notice that it was concerning whenever that malicious server communicates to an internal system. So this is no longer an outbound only rule. This is where we're going to have to create a bidirectional inbound and outbound connections. So we'll just replace that dash and greater than with a less than and greater than and notate that way. Now we can drop our message in that we're looking for. So investigate suspicious connections. Copy that out. Back to Notepad, drop it in, and then we can close that off. So any further keywords that we need for this particular one? Not really. We just need to find out whether this malicious server is communicating to any of our internal nets. And so we did any here. Actually, we need to replace this with the malicious IP in question. So that's going to be the 192.185.57.242, that malicious Apache server, making an internal connection to any of our internal devices. And then we should be pretty much good to go on this one. So let's just finish this off with another SID, increment that by 1, so 5556. Close that off, and then again, this is rev 1 of this particular rule because it's the first one that we've made, and close out those parens. So let's drop this into our Suricata rules, run that checker, and see if this does the trick. Drop our rule in, right quit, and rule checker. Second rule looks good. Cool. All right, now this gives us our next challenge. We heard that some naughty actors are using TLS certificates with a specific CN. Develop a Suricata rule to match an alert on an SSL certificate for whatever that is. And when the rule matches, the message should read, investigate bad certificates, possible Dridex infection. All right, so back to Notepad to put this together. You could, of course, put these directly into Vim. I think this is just a little bit easier to see for the purposes of the screen recording. So we're going to do another alert, and this time we're dealing with SSL certs or TLS, looking for those TLS certs, and then we can grab this homenet, any, all this good stuff again, repeat that, save ourselves the problem, or save ourselves the trouble of retyping all of that, and throw our message that we're concerned with in here. So investigate bad certificates, that Dridex infection, man. All right, close that out. And now what other keywords do we need to finish this off? Well, we're looking for the content of a CN, or rather, we're looking for the content of a TLS cert. So we need another one of those content keywords similar to what we did in the DNS query. So let's go ahead and put our content keyword in here and then grab the name of that CN that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. Nagoya. We can get the end of it. It's Nagoya. There's the content that we're looking for in the CN. And then from there, we can just say no case again because we don't care if this is case sensitive. And an SS or an SID, I keep wanting to say SSID, SID of 5557, and then rev 1 again, and close out those parens. Let's grab all of this, pop this into our Suricata rule set. And we'll get back out of here to run that rule checker again. Oh, we had a mistake on that one. So let's dive back into the Vim Suricata rules and let's see what that could have been. So alert TLS home, any message, investigate bad certificates, possible Dridex infection, content, no case, SID, and rev 1. So what went wrong on this one? When I copied that, I forgot to change this to a bidirectional rule. That's what we're going to need to do. So yeah, definitely check out that syntax because anything can trip you up on this one, and this should resolve the issue. So therein lies the flaws in a just copy-paste sort of method, I suppose. So let's write that out. Rule checker one more time. Bam, third rule looks good. Now we're on a roll. Okay. Okay, one more rule to rule them all, and in the darkness find them. Nice. Let's watch for one line from the JavaScript, let byte characters equal ATRB. String might be gzip compressed, won't really be an issue for us in constructing this rule. And just in case they try this again, please alert on that HTTP data with the message, suspicious JavaScript function, possible Dridex infection. All right. So I think back to Notepad one last time. This time we will pay more attention to anything that we are copy pasting so we can fix that. That's what that rule should have been when we were in here. And we're back to alerting on HTTP. So let's go ahead and jump in here and grab all of this. And in this case, this is going to be an any, not a specific IP address. So we can change this to any. And then drop our message in. So we'll copy that once more out of our Cranberry Pi terminal. Paste that into our rule. Close that off. And then this is another one where we're going to need some extra keywords. We're looking for JavaScript. That is something that we need to detect and alert on. So we know that there's going to be a content portion of this already, but we need to specifically look at the HTTP response. So let's just jump back to our documentation here quickly and look through the various keywords that we have. So here we have HTTP keywords, and you can see that we have a number of keywords that we can use. That JavaScript is going to come back in the response. So what we're going to want to look for are things pertaining to response keywords. And right here we have HTTP response body. Perfect. So we could go down and get more information about exactly how this works by taking a look at, look, I already had it in there. Great. So jump down to that one. And we can see that this is basically what it's telling us about. With the content modifier possible to match specifically and only on the HTTP response body, relevant for us. And then it can be moved, can be used in combination with these various modifiers, so on and so forth. And then we have some example stuff here. So let's go ahead and add that to our Suricata rule. HTTP.response underscore body. I'm being extra careful about those typos now because I don't want to have something not work and then be puzzled as to why that happened. And then we're going to have the content that we're looking for. So this is going to be that let byte characters equal ATOB. I will go ahead and just copy that right out of the CranPi terminal. Semicolon, and then of course we can continue through with, we could put in our SID again. Yeah, I didn't say SSID that time. So I almost did though. 5558 is it that we're up to? We don't want to repeat those. Yeah, 5558. And then finally our rev. So rev1 again, and close those parens. And this ought to do the job and get us the Tolkien ring. So copy that once more into Vim. Once more appending to the end here. Right quit and run those rule checkers. And that flew by in a moment, but that solves our challenge for us. That's going to banish the snow rog that was threatening us here. You don't see it because I already went through this once, so it's no longer there. And it's going to give us the Tolkien ring. So that does it for the Tolkien ring, the Tolkien room. 1 of 5 rings of powder down that we've retrieved in our endless, or well, hopefully not endless, but our quest to retrieve all 5 rings of powder. So in the next video, we are going to jump into the first challenge of the Elfin ring, and we'll move on from there in our quest. So until next time, very much thank you guys for watching. Take care. Look forward to talking to you later.